Is about how to find the circumference and area of a circle. So quick reminder, circumference is a distance around the outside of a circle, diameter is distance across the center of a circle, and radius is half of the diameter. So this should look really familiar. Your two equations for circumference. The most commonly memorized one is circumference equals 2 pi r, 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times radius. However, because two radii are two half of the diameters, and together the 2 times r get one whole diameter, so some people use circumference equals pi times diameter instead. It gets you the same answer. Now, you've learned these equations before, but your teachers in the past may not have had a chance to show you visually why they work, so that's what we're going to do now. Watch the screen closely. Let's say I have a circle with a diameter of 10. So in terms of the diameter, 10, let's see how long it takes to go around the outside the circle. So there's 10, one diameter, there's a second diameter of 10, there's a third diameter of 10, and it's almost all the way around the circle. There's a little tiny gap. Oh, there's about 1.4 units left to close the circle. That's 0.14 of 10. In other words, it takes 3.14 of the diameters to circle the whole thing. That's why it's 3.14 or pi diameters for circumference. All right, so today you're going to be expected to leave your answers in terms of pi. Yes, pi stands for 3.1415 on and on and on. It's a run-on decimal, but just leave your answers with a pi at the end. Don't forget your units. So here's a quick example. Whenever they tell me the diameter, I tend to use a c equals diameter times pi version of the equation instead of radius, so it would give me the same answer. But if I already have diameter, why not use the diameter version? So I plug in the diameter, I'm done. C equals 12 pi centimeters. Go ahead and try the next two problems and pause the video until you're done. Go ahead and check your answers. Notice how for question 2, this time they told me radius, so I'd use a radius version of the circumference equation. But for 3, they told me diameter, so I'd use a diameter version. Go ahead and try questions 4 through 6 on your own. Pause the video until you're done. Go ahead and check your answers. Next, we're going to run through a quick review of area. This should look pretty familiar. For circles, area equals pi r squared. Here's the logic of why the area is pi r squared. So you could think of that r squared part of the formula as telling you the area of a square where the base is a radius and the height is a radius. Base times height would be r times r, so the area of that square is r squared. Let's figure out how many of those roughly it would take to fill the area of the whole circle. Now, if I trimmed off the parts of the squares that weren't in the circle and moved the trimmings into the last quarter of the circle here, those 3 little extra pieces would almost fill that last empty section of the circle, almost. So it would take 3 r squareds and a little bit more to fill the circle. In other words, it would take 3.14 r squareds to fill the circle. Hence, it's pi r squareds. So write this down. It takes a little bit more than 3 r squared boxes to fill the circle because it's a nice thing to help you remember what the formula is and why it works. So here's a quick run through of the first area problem. You start with your area formula, area equals pi r squared. If they tell you the radius, you plug it in. You square the number. 6 squared is 36. And here's something important. We almost always move the pi to the end of your answer. Normal numbers like 36 always go in front of the pi. So you kind of swap the order backwards when you're done. Don't forget that this is an area problem, so your units are centimeters squared. Pause the video and try the next 2 on your own. Notice how for number 8, we'll get to that. All right, so number 8 was a little bit confusing because see how this line is going all the way across? So it's telling you the whole diameter. In other words, the radius isn't 18, the radius is half of that, the radius is 9. You have to do something similar with 9. You have to cut the diameter in half and get the radius before you plug it all in. The last type of problem we have to talk about today are word problems relating to circumference and area. Whenever I have a word problem of this type or any other, I tend to summarize the information they give me on the side. So when they say the circumference is 10 pi, I'll write c equals 10 pi as a summary. And I'll also summarize what they're asking me for. What is the radius? I would summarize with r equals question mark. Now that I've summarized the word problem, because I know what circumference answer is, it's 10 pi, I would start with the circumference equation. Circumference is 2 pi r, so if circumference is 10 pi, then 2 pi r equals 10 pi. Now my job is to get r by itself. To get r by itself, I'd have to cancel out the times 2 pi in front. So to do that, I would divide by 2 pi. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Oh, luckily it crosses out the pi here. I just have to divide 10 by 2, and then I'll be done. R is by itself. R equals 10 divided by 2, R equals 5. There's no units in this problem, so you don't necessarily need to write units in your answer in that case. 11, when you summarize it, they're telling you the circumference is 22 pi. They're asking this time for the area, so I'd summarize that question on the side as well. Go ahead and solve 11. Pause the video until you're done. When you solve number 11, when you get r by itself, you'll find that r, the radius, is 11. Number 11's answer is 11. How fun. And then always go back and read your summary and see what the question is. This time they're not asking for radius like last time. This time they're asking for area, so we're not quite done. We have to take the radius we figured out and plug it into our area formula. So your final answer is that the area is 121 pi. We'll walk through 12 together, and then you'll try 13 on your own. So for number 12, they're telling you the area, and the question is, what is the diameter? Since they're telling you the area, you're going to start with your area formula. You could say, well, area is really pi r squared. So when I say that a equals 49 pi, that really means pi r squared equals 49 pi. Next, we want to get r by itself. We have to cancel out the pi first to do that. When we cancel out the pi by dividing both sides by pi, we get r squared by itself. R squared would equal 49. To get rid of the square, you'd do the opposite. You'd square root. When you square root both sides, square root of 49 would get you 7, so radius is 7. Whenever you think you're done solving a problem, go back and check what you're trying to solve for. Oh, they want diameter this time, not radius. So whatever you got for radius, because that's half of diameter, you'd double it. You'd times it by 2 to get the diameter. Pause the video and try 13 on your own. So they're telling you the area. So you'd say, well, area is really pi r squared. So pi r squared equals 16 pi. To get r squared by itself, you divide both sides by pi. And then to cancel out the square on the r, you'd square root both sides of your equation. You get that the radius is 4. When you read what they're asking you for again, you note how they're asking you for circumference. So you would plug in 4 for r in your circumference problem, and you should get 8 pi. Good job, everybody.